wanted to ask very quickly. Earlier in the interview, you spoke of people being charged criminally for a firearm used in self-defense. How does that typically play out, and are there things that we can do beforehand if we decide to use a firearm for personal protection to minimize legal problems?
It's any time that you actually utilize a firearm, you can rest assured that there will be a legal process if you use a firearm off of a range or in the direction of some other person. There certainly will be legal consequences, a legal process, and what the ultimate outcome of that process will be obviously is extremely fact dependent. The best thing that all firearms owners, particularly handgun owners, can do is to get some professional training with the firearm and practice and become very comfortable and familiar, and not just range practice but taking self-defense courses.
Some tactical exercises. Tactical
exercises, exactly, anywhere that you can, and you have to continually practice to be comfortable and familiar with a firearm. I grew up with long guns, and when I first tried to use a handgun, it was very awkward and uncomfortable to me, and it's taken a lot of work, and I find that I have to continue to practice with it to keep up that level of comfort. It's not as instinctive to me as a shotgun is.
Sure.
It's kind of hanging out there on the end of my arm. I don't know quite what to do with it without that stock, you know.
Sure.
But certainly, and then if you do have an attorney locally, or can go speak with an attorney that's familiar with you and with your hobbies, perhaps even have someone on retainer, and then legal consequences will occur if you discharge the firearm other than in a sporting or hunting circumstance. As a criminal defense attorney for many long years, I strongly advise the person to not say anything, to exercise the right of silence. It's very, very compelling to want to, when the police show up.
Okay.
It is extremely compelling to want to explain yourself, and most decent, law-abiding, intelligent people feel like if they just tell the police what happened, then it'll all be fine. But the role of the police is there, seeing a bleeding body in your hand on a gun, is there to investigate a crime and to try to put a case together for potential prosecution against you. If you have just discharged your firearm with the heat of adrenaline, perhaps with the fear of protecting yourself or your family, with your kids there going hysterical or upset and so on, you are in no condition to give a coherent story and to clear your thoughts and to speak. By story, I mean recounting of what happened.
Sure.
And I'm not suggesting anybody make anything up, obviously.
Get it straight in your head.
But you're not in a mindset to think and speak clearly. You're all pumped up, and what you say may not be what you mean, and certainly may not help the situation in any way.
Sure.
Give it an opportunity, even if that means going downtown and spending a night on a cot somewhere, and they'll give you a meal, and then you'll have a chance to have a night's sleep and speak with an attorney and clear your mind about what if you're going to speak to the police or not.
Do you tell the police officer that I'm going to cooperate with you, but I need to speak to an attorney first? Is that a reasonable thing to say?
Certainly. And remember, it is your absolute right, again, under our state and federal constitutions, to not speak. If they lean on you or say things will go better, you have an absolute right, and you may have to take that last little bit of adrenaline and be assertive and say, with all due respect, I want to speak to an attorney. You know, I'm not trying to be uncooperative. Certainly cooperate in terms of, clearing the firearm, handing it over. The only other issue would be if there is another person or someone who's been injured, where you might be able to get medical attention to someone that would behoove you to point that out. If there's a second guy who's hurt at the bottom of the stairs or something, if you can point that out.
We have about 2 minutes left, but I have two quick questions for you. I'm in my home, I hear somebody has broken in, I've got my handgun, or I'm at knife point in an alley, someone wants to mug me. Do's and don'ts?
Again, I would just have to strongly suggest that you go through the physical tactical training to become familiar with certain situations like that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And then the last question, I wanted to ask, particularly because you practice Second Amendment law in the state of Vermont. Many pro-gun advocates talk about how Vermont is one of the best states as far as their gun laws. Can you tell us quickly about some of those gun laws and why they're better than other states?
I can tell you very quickly about our gun laws. We have none. It's not quite true. We have one, which is you cannot carry a firearm with the intent to do harm or commit a crime, and that covers it all.
So if you commit a crime with a gun,
right? Or if you have the avowed intent, if you've just called up, you know, the ex's boyfriend and said, "I'm going to come over, I'm coming over," and you know, and you have your firearm.
Sure.
It's a crime to be carrying the firearm with the avowed intent of committing a crime. Other than that, there are none. You can carry whatever you want, however you want, wherever you want. Anyone coming into the state to visit is free in the state to carry whatever they want. If you go to purchase in the state, you do need a Vermont driver's license, at least for the handguns.
What are the odds of that ever being a model for other states?
Vermont has a long culture or long history of a very profound respect for individualism and individual rights, a very profound respect for live and let live. It's interesting, Vermont is known worldwide for the Vermont carry, meaning no firearms rights, and the civil unions, which are, again, the law regarding same-gender couples.
Both big on live and let live.
Both of them are state recognitions of our individual civil liberties, far in excess of those recognized in the federal Constitution or in many other states. And so there is a big difference between the history of Vermont and how it's there and how that history has evolved in other states. But Massachusetts and Vermont have taken diametrically opposed approaches. Massachusetts has extraordinarily strict firearms licensing requirements, but the Massachusetts punishments for crime, the sentences that people receive for violent crimes, are a fraction of what you get in Vermont.
Really? I didn't know that.
In a sort of, you know, drug deal or robbery gone bad in Massachusetts, and a gun goes off and maybe somebody's slightly injured or maybe they aren't, you know, you're looking at an assault and battery with a deadly weapon and a, I don't know, 5-year sentence, and this is kind of that happens all the time. In Vermont, you're looking at attempted murder, 40 to life, for discharging a firearm, you know, if it's not a self-defense situation.
We'll take the Vermont laws any day.
So
I really have to cut it short.
Absolutely.
But I wanted to thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thanks so much. Delightful to be here.
Great.
Thanks.
So then we're just going to roll the credits while we sit here. That was outstanding.
Good. I think we
could've
got
done.